Well, here we go. It's the final day of practice here for stop number 2 of the FLW Tour here on the Heritage Chain, presented by Lowrance. We got Miles Howe joining us. Miles, you are from the West Coast. Yep. You are a rookie on tour, and you spent a little bit of time here before the cutoff.
I did.
And tell me how it's evolved a little bit since then.
When we first got here, it was about 28 degrees, the weather, so it was
beautiful.
Freezing. Yeah, beautiful. Drove from California to Florida and it was freezing, but the bite has changed a lot. I thought coming back this time around that we were going to be on a full spawn deal, and I spent a lot of time looking, and these fish, it happened really fast from when I was here a month ago to now. I mean, they've moved along pretty quick, so I mean, I think these fish are in a more of a, there's some fry, but they're a lot more in the post spawn, I think.
And we've kind of heard a lot more of that this week, which we've mentioned this before. It kind of makes sense, you know, that a lot of these cool fronts they've had in Florida and then these warm spells that happen really kick those fish into gear to spawn. But the grass is pretty solid out here right now. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of stuff you can get on a real solid post-spawn bite, like kind of some offshore grass and stuff like that. Have you probed into that at all this week? I
have. I spent a lot of time, first day and a half, looking in all the canals, looking for some beds. And, you know, when I didn't see them there, I knew they'd have to start moving out. And, you know, I could go, the fishing's, for numbers, you could catch a lot of fish. The size, it's the problem. Kind of go through, you'll catch 3 little fish, you know, under, not even keepers, and then all of a sudden you catch a 3-pounder. So, I mean, there's not really a rhyme or reason. Sure. You just got to make a lot of casts, and I've been covering a lot of water, making a lot of casts. That grass on the outside, I mean, you hit some spots where it's just grass as far as you could go. It's not really clumped, and found some clumps, and I feel like that once you find that isolated clumps, the fish are a little bit better.
Well, it seemed, just from what we're hearing this time around versus last year there was a lot more guys kind of focusing on like particular stretches, right? The hydrilla was there, but it was clumpier, like you mentioned. This time around, do you think we'll see guys cycling through different spots a lot more, or moving around a lot more throughout the tournament?
I think guys are going to move around a lot. I've seen big groups of boats, a lot of boats in one particular area, and then it kind of scatters, and then it moves to the next area. It's been pretty wild, you know. I have nothing to base it off of last year, right? So I kind of went into this just fresh, and I know the offshore will be a pretty big player. I think my best fish are still coming shallow, though. I've caught a couple good ones, and I've shaken off quite a few bites up shallow, so I'm hoping those fish stay up there for a couple more days.
Well, we haven't really tapped into this either, but what are you seeing for water temps?
Oh, water temps are up there. They're in the mid-70s.
Dang.
Yeah.
Pretty toasty. All right.
Yeah,
so
very
I mean,
toasty.
Obviously, I think there will be some fish spawning. It sounds like there are some guys that are seeing a few on beds. Absolutely. But interesting that there's still some good bites to be had up shallow. I guess the final thing I want to ask you, right now we're on Griffin. There's a pile of lakes you can fish. After having spent time wherever you did in practice, if you could practice tomorrow, what would you do?
Tomorrow, I would, I'd probably have 2 rods on my deck, and I would go, and actually I'd be flipping.
Exploring that shallow bite a little more.
Yeah, I feel like that's where my better bites will come from. I feel like right now, if I go outside onto these big grass areas, I could go catch 20 fish, but maybe for 9 pounds. I mean, a lot of little fish, gotcha. You know, back to back to back. I just have not found the good size concentration on the outside stuff. So.
All right. Well, one final thing I'll throw at you is, give me a winning weight. You've never been here before, never fished a tournament here. What do you think it's going to take?
Winning weight. I would probably say, let's say 54 pounds.
Light. Okay.
I think it's going to be light. I mean, I've talked to some of the guys that have been here. They think it's going to take less weight than it did last year. From guys seeing what they saw last year to now. Yeah, I think it's going to, we'll see. Someone might crack a huge bag. There's 30-pound bags coming in every weekend tournament here. So, I mean,
Very possible.
It's very possible to get a 30-pound back here. I've seen fish swimming that are, you know, some pretty good ones, and yeah, let's see if someone can do it. Hopefully I can get a couple good fish and be up there.
Right on, Miles. Well, you're shooting it straight, man. Thanks for joining us today, and good luck in the tournament, man.
Thank you.
Well, final afternoon of the final practice day here at the Harris Chain. Scott Wiley joining us, and probably owner of the best mustache on tour. You know I had to say it because it looks so good, but you're also strong, so don't beat me up.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
So here's what we've heard a lot from. We've heard guys saying fishing's a little tough. We've heard some people say fishing's pretty good. As of right now, what's your take on it?
It's kind of tough. I caught them pretty good on Sunday and just kind of got away from there and went and done other things and looked for some bedding fish, but they're not there. They've already done their little thing and they've moved. This wave is already gone.
Gotcha.
So, you know, running banks and stuff and trying to get bit, that's what I like to do. We did a little bit of that today, and I get bit on top water a little bit every now and then. So I don't really know what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to have to kind of sit down tonight and tomorrow and kind of put all that together and, and kind of put me a little game plan together. So.
Well, you know, we've heard kind of like you mentioned there that the lake's a little further along than I think a lot of people thought it would be coming into this tournament. Last year here on the Harris Chain, you had a pretty stout tournament. I think it finished somewhere in the 20s. But I mean, like, difference from last year to this year, just so kind of fill us in on that.
Those fish are a lot more further along. Had a lot of pre-spawn fish last year that were staging to go in. They were a lot easier to catch. These fish now, I think they've already done what they're going to do. They're in that in-between stage, and they're actually, I think they may be swimming. So, and what I mean by that is they've already been up there doing what they're going to do, and now they're trying to move back out, take a little break, and that break time is the hard time to catch them. So.
Right. All right. Well, one of the reasons I want to talk to you is you're really good at fishing shallow. You're really good at fishing shallow grasses in particular, and a frog is also something you really like doing. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out here that looks real froggy. You've played around with that at all?
I played with it some today, actually. Got a couple bites on it yesterday afternoon and said, well, you know, let's go try this a little bit today. And I got a couple of bites on it, but not nothing like what I really want to get. But, you know, you could probably go catch a decent bag up shallow. There's not a lot of fish left up there, but I'm the type of person that I get on the bank and just go. Once I figure out what they're on, what particular grass that they're holding on, and that's what I start looking for and start running at. I actually run around today and marked a bunch of stuff today without even fishing it and hoping that that'll kind of pan out. So.
Oh, okay. So that you can get on a pattern at least and start running it.
That's right.
Gotcha.
That's right.
Well, the other thing on the mention of topwater is, you know, that kind of transition after the spawn, it can be a good time to throw like a spook or a popper or something like that. Have you played around with any other topwaters?
I haven't played around with any other topwaters. Will I in the tournament? Probably, because you're exactly right. That's the time that you can catch those big ones on top. Should be a little shad spawn going on, and there is a little shad spawn going on, but there hadn't been nothing on the shad, so I don't know what's going on with that. The dinner bell's ringing, they're just not there to eat. So, but yeah, we're going to try some different stuff and see what we can come up with on that. So.
All right. Well, one thing before I let you go is I got to hear some fancy fishing picks. So tell me, maybe give me like a couple, 3 guys. You are rooming with Bradley Dortch, who won this last year. So I would imagine you got a little insight there. Maybe should the people pick him?
Yeah, I always pick Bradley because he holds out sometimes, you know. He and I share a lot of information, but he kind of holds out sometimes, and I know how he is, and he's a very good fisherman. He understands things. So yeah, Bradley probably be a good pick. Probably my #1 pick be JT. And the reason I say that, JT knows how to fish these lakes offshore. And that's where these fish are going to. And he knows how to find those shell beds and knows what to look for. And you ain't gonna rule out Brian Thrift. I mean, he's there every time we turn around. The guy's good. The guy's really good. So.
Which he slipped up a little. Okeechobee finished in the 60s or something like that. So poor Brian Thrift. I mean, he's bound for a top 10, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, he's gonna make one. Trust me. If he doesn't win one.
Absolutely. Well, Scott, I'll let you get going. You can get some rest tonight. You got an off day tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you, buddy.
So I think this is the last interview of the evening. Final day of practice here, Harris Chain. Jamie Horton joining us right now, and Jamie, you're a pretty good grass fisherman. I will boast for you. You're also pretty good at kind of catching them, you know, offshore a little bit. So right now I'm thinking you're probably dialed in on what's going on Harris Chain.
Well, I kind of mixed it up a little bit in practice. I kind of fished offshore and I looked for them on bed, and I kind of went back and forth. And you know, when you do that, it kind of jumbles everything up a little bit.
Right.
You know, you go to the bank and you find a couple on bed, and then you go out there and you catch a good one. You spend a couple hours, you don't catch it, and then you back to the bank. So I kind of went back and forth, just kind of like everybody else. You know, put in it 2 or 3 lakes a day, and
yep.
And you know, you see some of the same guys on Harris in the morning and Griffin in the evening, and vice versa. So I think we're all just trying to cover as much water as we can, especially this last day of practice.
Right. Well, and Griffin and Harris have both, I think, been probably the 2 most popular places for guys to look this week. What other lakes have you explored?
I mainly just, you know, you got to fish Harris some, because you're going to spend some time on Harris in the morning and the afternoon, one way or the other. So you got to spend some time there. And my plan was to come to Griffin from the start. So I probably spent most of my time up here on Griffin, and you know, I guess I don't know how it played out. You know, didn't have the best practice in the world, and kind of thought they'd be on bed better. I mean, there is some, there's enough to keep you looking and fool with. They're just not wide open as I thought they would be.
Okay. So probably a lot more post-spawn fish, which I guess is kind of what we've been hearing from guys, that there's a lot of fish done. Have you seen fry at all?
There is a lot of fry, but you know, there's always fry in Florida. You know, it seems like, you know, just from the way the weights has been down here in the past, you think they probably are done, but you don't see enough beds to justify that. I think it's definitely a better wave coming here in a week or 2.
Ah, so still some yet to come up.
I didn't see the number of beds that I was expecting to see. We've seen a lot more empty beds last year than I saw beds this year, so I still think there's another spawn to come. I don't think it'll be this week though. Interesting.
All right. Well, the other thing that we haven't gotten really a great lock-in on yet is maybe like some sort of weight predictions. We haven't really asked many guys that. So what about maybe like a top 30 cut weight, and then if you're feeling lucky enough, maybe throw out a winning weight?
Yeah, I don't think that the top, you know, last year the top 20 weight was around 27, 28. It'll be higher this year. You know, I think the check weight could be kind of normal for what you see in Florida. You know, somebody catch them big one day and not the next. But I really think it'll be a guy or 2 that won't have to catch a fish the second day to get a check. So I think it's going to be a couple big bags. I mean, you can get 5 or 6 bites and have a big stringer. Just sure. I mean, it is some big fish biting.
What about? I feel like a good winning weight we've heard is kind of maybe around like the upper 60s. What's your take on that?
I'd be surprised if somebody don't have a spot to themselves and do a little better than that. Okay. I mean, you know, I hadn't really found a spot like that myself for sure, but I do think that I think it'd be in the upper 70s possibly.
I like it. That's more what I'm thinking.
I think the offshore bite's better than it was last year.
Okay. All right.
So I don't think bed fishing is going to dominate for sure. I think the offshore is the way to go, and
so that glimmer of what we saw JT do on the final day last year could maybe play out more this year for more people.
I think that's more possible somewhere. You know, it's just more grass and everybody's going to be spread out a little bit more.
Sure. All right. Well, before I let you go pack things up, got to ask you about some fantasy fishing guys. So pick a couple guys that you'd have on your fantasy fishing squad and that isn't like Tim Frederick.
You know, and of course Cox is the obvious, but I'd just throw some guys out there. You know, I think Randy Haynes will do well this week. I mean, he has stuck to one particular thing in practice and stayed with it. And of course, you know, sometimes he says he had the best day, but I think he's doing what it takes to win. Okay. And I think he'll do good. I think Chandler Hugh have a good tournament. Oh yeah. I mean, I think he's doing what it takes. And you know, me myself, I go back and forth, so I really hadn't settled down. So I guess I'll try to see where I land Thursday.
Well, I think those are some great fantasy fishing picks. Might want to put Jamie on your squad. And man, we'll let you get packed up. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.